Hi, I'm Richard Sher, and it's time to square off and talk about a busy week. What a week. Let's meet our panel. We welcome attorney Tonya, Bana, talk show host extraordinaire, Jimmy Mathis, former mayor, Sheila, Dixon, and our debate coach, Professor Rick Vatz. Well, this has been a week where President Joe Biden stepped out of the race for a second term, saying in his speech to the nation that, quote, the defense of democracy is more important than the title. It's time to hand off power to a younger generation. It is the best way to unite our nation. Tonya, kick it off.
Well, yeah, first of all, thank you, President Biden. Second of all, and I think we'll probably talk about this later. I can't countenance people calling the vice president a DEI hire when Joe Biden has been the president for the last 4 years.
Okay, Sheila, that took me by surprise.
I was very surprised. I'm excited about the way the race is going to go. I respect his decision, and now it's really time for folks to roll up their sleeves, whichever side you want, and get to work, because we've got to get people out to vote. There's so many important issues. I'm just excited. In hindsight, I wish I had filed to be a delegate. I was a delegate under Obama, which was historic. I was a delegate under Jesse Jackson, which was extremely historic.
Very good. Rick Vatz.
Well, anybody who thinks that Joe Biden made this decision on his own is smoking something, because he obviously pushed out. He was pushed out toward the end, and his family was upset. Everybody was upset, and now he claims that he was with it all the way. And I think what we've ended up with is two awful candidates for president.
Jimmy Mathis.
First of all, Madam Mayor, pleasure to be on the program with you. I met you over a decade ago on this show back when we were on WMAR, so pleasure to be with you. Look, if you're going to pass the torch, then pass the torch. What you have right now is 6 months of a lame duck presidency. I really thought there was a possibility when Biden gave that speech that he would step down. It would have given even more momentum for Harris leading into the convention. And if you're really going to pass the torch, pass the torch. And he didn't.
Well, Vice President Kamala Harris was endorsed by President and Mrs. Barack Obama, and that certainly helps her. But she has the delegate votes, as you know, to win the Democratic nomination for president. And she's gone on the offensive against Donald Trump, portraying November's election as a choice between a former prosecutor and a convicted felon. Trump blasted her record on social media, assailing her record on the border, saying that lying Kamala Harris destroys everything she touches.
Richard, Trump is never going to stop being Trump, okay? So let's get off the rhetoric part of this for a second, okay? When he came off the bus with Billy Bush, we all knew what he said, all right? That has been his MO for the last, going back to 2016, all right? The question right now is America frustrated with politics? Do they feel that they're being unfairly treated? The Democrats right now are running on one thing, which is identity politics. Actually, I take that back. Two things. Identity politics, and do they hate Trump enough? Look, Ms. Harris is way better than Joe Biden. There's no question about that. She's risen an amazing amount of money, okay, in the first 48 hours of Biden stepping down. We are still a month away from the convention and 5 months away from the general. We'll see, but do not just assume that this thing is over.
No, I agree. It's not over. And I think the importance of what has to happen is, I think that Biden finishing out his next 6 months, and I know it's probably going to be a lame duck and he's going to attempt to do all that he can. But for me, it's what's the agenda? what are we going to do for the people of this country, and focus on not attacking each other, but what are we going to do for the economy? What are we going to do for Medicaid and Medicare? What are we going to do to create an environment in this country where people will buy in and be a part of it? We're so divided, and it's gotten so ugly. And, and that's the part that frustrates me. Let's deal with issues. Let's deal with facts. Let's deal with what your agenda is. Let's move this process forward. And people are going to have to step up and work hard. And it's really, for me, it's not about Democrat, Republican. What happens? I have a new granddaughter that's going to be born in the next several days. What is her life going to be like? I'm concerned.
But then why not pass the torch and not have the next 6 months be a total lame duck presidency, which is what it's going to be? Like, why not use this opportunity as a mandate for Democrats and a mandate for moving forward and going into the convention and then into a general? Why not do that right now? If you're going to step down, then step down.
Go ahead,
Tonya, go ahead.
As happy as I would be to see someone who looks like me for the first time as the president, I actually think that it might be more harmful to Kamala's campaign for her to be in office because there's so much excitement and enthusiasm for her right now. She really can't do anything wrong. If she was in fact president, she'd be subjected to a whole different level of scrutiny. And I think right now, really, all the Democrats have to promise people is that they're not going to do the stuff that Donald Trump has said he's going to do. They're not going to, cut taxes on billionaires and raise them on regular folks. They're not going to roll back reproductive health rights. They're not going to do all these things that we know we can expect if Donald Trump is reelected.
Well, let me just say, since we're in a honeymoon period for Kamala, that when we get the issues, she's going to suffer terribly. She is the most liberal candidate we have had. She's the most liberal vice president we've had since Henry Wallace. And look at some of her positions. She wants the Green New Deal. She wants to end fracking. She wanted to have bail for the 2020 rioters. She said the border is secure all along. She wants to have free health care for illegals. Can you imagine that? She wants to end fracking. She wants to end private health care. She is as crazy left as any candidate we have had for 50, 60 years.
Well, let me say this. Kamala Harris, hold it, Sheila. Kamala Harris is already facing attacks that center on her race and gender, making it clear that while Republicans might try to tie her to some of Biden's policies, she's facing criticisms that he never did. Sheila, what were you going to say?
So what I was going to say is that she's been somewhat quiet to some degree over the last several years, even though she was a prosecutor, et cetera, and a senator. She has to now set an agenda that's going to accommodate and deal with not only liberals, but moderates, et cetera. You have a diverse community in this country, and you just can't focus on one area of individuals. And so for me, it's like, be honest, be truthful. If that's where you're going to go, fine, then let the consequences end up where they are. As a moderate Democrat, sure, I have some liberal positions, but today, the way this country is, it's too much to deal with, and we are so behind. Our kids are suffering.
Sheila, the problem is that one of the reasons that Kamala and others have to focus on race and other issues is she has done nothing for who can mention a policy that she has been behind the last 4 years. She is just to me, she is just a joke, and she's been a joke. Now, let's say she's not a joke going forward. What position is she going to take antithetical to these positions that is going to win her support? I think she is at the zenith now of her popularity, and I think in 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to go downhill, just like it did for McGovern and Dukakis.
All right,
Professor,
so you're Jimmy.
With all due respect, every president has dealt with this, right? They were making fun of Donald Trump's hair and his rhetoric. Okay, George Bush was stupid. Obama had his issues. Clinton really had his issues. Reagan was a joke because he was an actor. I'm so sick and tired, okay, of trying to like segregate that she's going to be different than any other person that has seeked the highest office in the land. Can we just get over that for 1 second, please?
Good idea. And you should know, of course, that since Joe Biden dropped out of the race, the Democrats have raised tens of millions of dollars and thousands of young voters are registered.
Hundreds of millions. Over $100 million.
Hundreds, yeah. In 2 days, she raised over $100 million.
Yeah. I don't mean to cut you off, Richard. There's a lot of enthusiasm behind her, okay? And Biden stepping down, okay, may lead the Democrats to keep the White House. I'm not questioning that, okay? There's a lot of momentum behind her right now. I'm not questioning that at all.
Always early enthusiasm, Jimmy.
Guys, why not pass the torch and give her a 6-month head start? Why not do that?
All right, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to stop for a moment to hear from Howard, the voice of Square Off. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about Harris's possible vice presidential picks, and then move on to the latest on the assassination attempt and the Secret Service director who's out. Howard.
Thank you, Richard. You know, auto accidents are on the rise. And if your car has been in an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take it. That's why more and more people are trusting their auto repairs and auto maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-433-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. And hands down, Baltimore is one of the best diner towns in the country. And by the way, the Double T Diners, who is our sponsor, won the Sun Papers Readers Poll as being the best diner in the land, in Baltimore anyway, and I think in the land. But anyway, Double T Diners means totally terrific. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the Double T menu offers you so many choices. You're going to want to order everything. With locations on Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. Plus, Monday nights are lobster night at By the Docks in Middle River, all part of the Double T family. Back to you, Richard.
Sheila, you were smiling during that. Were you hungry? Are you hungry?
Actually, I am. I worked out, and normally I eat around 11. I do intermittent fasting, so yeah. I was.
Me too.
Everybody else worked out today? Excellent.
I did a couple miles of running this morning.
Really?
Yes, every morning.
In your tie?
But no, not every morning.
Hey, by the way, it's great to have you guys on this program, and this is really a big news week for all of us. Crucial for Kamala Harris, her pick for vice president. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro are considered front runners, and also on the list is North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. What do you think about this? Tonya, Bana.
Well, I mean, yeah, we talked about this a little bit before we started. I would love to see her pick Shapiro. I actually don't think we're as racist as some of us appear to believe we are as a nation. I don't think that we would have a problem with electing a ticket with a Black woman at the top of the ticket and a Jewish man as her vice president. I don't think that would be an issue at all. So, but I've heard that that's not what's going to happen.
I guess you haven't been to Washington.
Wait, stop. Tonya, what did you hear is going to happen?
It's going to be Kelly.
How do you know that? Are you breaking news on Square Off?
I can't reveal my sources.
Well, then you're
Actually, it's Kelly who I've been pushing, who I feel would be probably one of the most dynamic vice president, who has experience, who's coming from the Senate, you know, as an astronaut. I mean, I just think he could bring so much to the White House in partnership. And I don't believe that he would be a lame duck vice president, that he would definitely be aggressive and really be working on issues that could literally, go both with Republicans and Democrats.
Let me say two things. Number one.
How about one?
Well, I have to say two things. If she picks Josh Shapiro, I will buy all of you lunch. I think there's absolutely no chance that will happen. I think one of the reasons it won't happen is I think there is a strain of anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party, and I think she holds on to that anti-Semitism. Mark Kelly, I think, is very likely. I think he's a very good choice. And the fact that he's married to Gabby Giffords, I think that adds a certain panache. But I also think that he's been very tough on the border policies. What's he going to say when he's asked, what do you think about Kamala Harris's position on the border all these months and years? So it would be very interesting, but I think he would be a very good choice for her.
Jimmy,
what is the basis for you to say that there's a strain of anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party? I'm very, very curious about that.
Oh, I'll go ahead and take that one. Okay, you go back to Ben Cardin, you look at what happened. Professor, you and I have had this conversation on the radio for the last 10 years. Okay, the Democratic Party has turned their back on the Jewish community, and they really did it over the last 72 hours. You want to see those chickens come home to roost? You're looking at it right now.
Chris Van Hollen is a prime example.
All due respect, if there is any Jewish person that supports this party in a general election, that will be amazing to me. I have a lot of Jewish friends that are so frustrated, so angry, so upset, so hurt by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has taken the Jewish community for granted for a long time, okay? And they're not doing it anymore. They're not doing it. And by the way, where's Wes Moore in this whole conversation? You didn't even put him up for a VP pick. And I understand that because Maryland's not a swing state. You know what? If the Democratic Party really wanted to win this thing, okay? And Tonya, I'll play along on the race card. Go ahead, put Wes Moore up. Wes Moore beats Donald Trump every day of the week.
But Wes Moore just became governor. Yeah, Wes Moore just became governor. He also stated that he wants to finish his term. He was humbled, but he's 2 years in, not even 2 years in as governor.
Right, but look, he has, I'm not talking about the race thing. Just, guys, hear me out on this. Wes Moore has a lot of what Obama had going on. And what I mean by that is there's no real history, right? Like, and Sheila, I totally agree with you, right? Wes Moore has wins, okay? Everybody likes him. I've met him personally. He's a good guy. He's done well with the bridge. He doesn't have any, political past. Neither did Barack Obama. Generally speaking, he was 2 years in the Senate, a couple years in the state Senate. If the machine got behind Wes Moore, again, I've been saying this for a year. This had to happen a couple months ago. I think he absolutely would beat Donald Trump every day of the week.
He says he's out of the race. He says he's not going to accept the vice presidency. Wes Moore.
That's why he's not on the list anymore. And besides, come on, let's deal with reality in this country. I'm sorry, but we're not going to have a African-American, Middle Eastern woman and an African-American man as president. The country's not ready for that. Now, is this the cycle? Is this the cycle for a woman? Yes.
Look at every
it's time.
City across the country. Okay, an African-American is vice president. We had a black president before Donald Trump. I mean, at some point we got to get over this.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying.
Let's hear from Tonya. Go ahead.
For me to say, I don't believe that we're that racist, but other people are saying we can't have Josh Shapiro and Kamala Harris is not me playing the race card. Okay, let's be very clear about that. That's not me playing the race card. I do agree with Ms. Dixon that there's no, I don't think that we would elect Kamala Harris with Wes Moore as number two. And I also don't think he's ready. I think it's too soon. He needs to govern for a while.
He says he loves his job. He's here to
well,
stay.
he's got a lot of work to do to prove how effective he is as a governor.
All right. Just want to talk a different topic just for a couple of minutes, then we'll break and then we'll come back and talk about another hot topic. And during this past week, you know that Kimberly Cheadle resigned as director of the U.S. Secret Service. This after she was grilled by Congress for the potentially fatal mistakes made when former President Donald Trump was shot at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. Some people in the crowd had seen this guy, this Thomas Crooks, with his rifle climbing up to the roof, and they alerted local police, who supposedly contacted Social Security, Secret Service. This thing is upsetting. But if you see a guy on a roof with a rifle, you don't let the president, this is just my opinion, you don't let the former president show up on the stage. Rick, you're giving me the finger.
No, I wasn't giving you the finger. I do want to say that Cheadle's testimony, and I've watched testimony for years, and when I was in graduate school, I used to read testimony week after week after week. Her testimony was the poorest testimony I've ever seen by a principal in my entire life. And for her to turn off so many Democrats and so many Republicans and maintain she's going to stay in office despite her manifest incompetence, and her incompetence in this situation is one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen.
All right.
Yeah, for one, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
For one, Rick and we agree. I watched her testimony as well, and it was a train wreck. And you can't say that you're prepared to take whatever actions are appropriate and warranted based on your investigation, and not also acknowledge that your resignation should be on the table, because one of the findings may be that it stops with you. She was awful, and I don't think you have to be an expert in security to know that there were a lot of drop balls in connection with how that was handled.
Well,
I agree too. She did very poorly. And the question was, okay, even if you are still looking into what some of the challenges were, or what some of the issues, the unanswered questions, well, state that, but she did do poorly, unfortunately. And, there are questions, though, whether or not he really got shot or in the ear, I'm just saying, for me, that is out there. That is out there.
Well, everything.
You're talking about the shrapnel, that perhaps it was shrapnel, not an actual bullet.
Oh,
yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But the fact that somebody ended up dying, and the way that the Secret Service dealt with that, even with him standing there and then him ducking, and then they finally, I think even their actions, they probably need to resign. And I understand that the FBI, that there's a shortage, and that the local police were supposed to be a part of that process to handle that, but
love to be on the other side of this conversation right now. I would love for somebody to take a shot at President Obama and to say what you two just said. I really would.
Jeez whiz, let's not take
we're not dealing with President Obama right now.
What did I say?
You agree with Rick. I was one who said something.
Yeah, I don't even know what did I do this time, Jimmy?
No, what I'll say is I spent the last 2 decades working at the network level in Washington, D.C. I've covered multiple presidents. I've been in literally over 100 of those events, okay, over multiple presidents. It's somewhat ridiculous that happened, okay? I can't tell you how many security sweeps that happened days before. I've been in those rooms, okay? Now, I'm not speculating anything, but it's somewhat insane that was able to happen. It really was.
All right.
A minute after it happened, I wrote that the fact that sloped roof was not covered was outrageous. It took them days and days to come to that conclusion. I'm no expert either. But how in the world can you justify not covering a roof because it's a little bit sloped? It's macabre.
I have been at Camden Yards, okay, through I don't know how many presidents. This is going back to Bill Clinton, on the roof of Camden Yards, okay, where they have snipers. Look at the covering on the upper decks of Camden Yards, okay, and they're all over the place. That is much dangerous than the shed that was 150 yards out from Donald Trump.
All right, we conclude this by reminding you that the Secret Service has urged the Trump people to move their rallies indoors, no more outdoor exposure. We're going to be back in a moment. Here's Howard. We want to touch on Netanyahu's visit to Washington for a few minutes before we have to wrap what is a very good square off, because we have the four of you. Jimmy, you got to get more excited next time. Howard. Howard, you're muted. Unmute. Very good.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Tom Edison.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Red. Thank you, Steve Jobs. Richard and I are proud to represent the law firm of Barry Glazer. Barry always goes the extra mile for his clients. Whether it's been a personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect, Barry and his staff, that includes an in-house doctor and nurse, make no apologies for getting top dollar from the insurance companies. His clients are his best advertising. The next time you need a lawyer, give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568. Barry gets results. You know, with baseball in Baltimore in a pennant race and the Ravens getting ready to start their exhibition season on August 9th, now is the time to head over to Pappas, because their sports bars and restaurants are great, but their sports bars have so many big screen TVs, you're constantly surrounded by, you can see all the games at one time. And also, you know, if you want to enjoy a gourmet meal in the dining room of Pappas, you can do that too. So either way, you can enjoy an award-winning Pappas crab cake, or as Richard calls it, the Fab Cake. It's Oprah's favorite, by the way. And Pappas ships all over the country. Enjoy a dining experience second to none at Pappas restaurants and sports bars. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, buddy. Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to a joint session of the Congress Wednesday at the Capitol. He vowed a total victory against Hamas and condemned American opponents of the war in Gaza. Dozens of Democratic lawmakers boycotted Netanyahu's speech, seeking an end to the war and the humanitarian crisis created by it. Netanyahu also met separately with President Biden and Vice President Harris. Netanyahu began his remarks with praise for President Biden, but then he praised Donald Trump for all he has done for the state of Israel. Who wants to comment on this? Rick?
It's a total miss by the Democrats. It's a total miss by the Democrats. Nobody greeted, Bibi on the tarmac. It was a total diss on what happened at the United States Capitol. You look at the riots that happened over at Union Station. This, again, is what I was saying earlier. This is the Democratic Party losing the Jewish community, which, Professor, you and I have been talking about this for over a decade. Should have happened a long time ago, going back to Ben Cardin. They've officially lost that part of the electorate.
Let me say a couple of things. First of all, I want to associate with what Jimmy said, but also this was an extraordinary speech. The delivery was perfect. The message was comprehensive. There was no negativism toward President Biden. It was honest thanks to Donald Trump. There was the shameful boycott of his speech by dozens of Democrats. I mean, it's just appalling. I mean, October 7th was when Israel was attacked completely without provocation. I mean, it's the most outrageous thing. And there were so many brilliant parts of the speech. He said, he reminded people that Iran, who was implicitly supported by some of these Democrats, they hang gays from cranes and they kill women for not covering their hair.
Rick, Ben Cardin, everybody needs to remember this. Ben Cardin orchestrated that deal. It was Ben Cardin and Corker. You and I had this conversation on the radio. Ben Cardin gave billions of dollars to Iran. No, to fast track the bomb to wipe Israel off the face of the map back when Obama was president and they were commandeering U.S. Navy ships. We have to remember this stuff.
Stop. Tonya.
Yeah. I think that you can be opposed to non-combatants being killed in Gaza and not be anti-Israel. And I think that you can be critical of Bibi Netanyahu and not be anti-Jewish. And I also know that there are a lot of Jewish people, and there are family members of people who are still being held hostage, who do not support Bibi Netanyahu's approach right now. So this is a more nuanced discussion than what people would like, people would like to acknowledge. If you want to have a real discussion about the nuances of it, that suddenly makes you anti-Semitic. I don't accept that.
Is that a shit?
Leave the dog alone, please. Tonya, leave the puppy. He's adorable. Sheila, what do you want to say?
So here's what I feel. I feel that those who protested and did not attend the speech should have been there and been vocal what their concerns were. I think the presence of the Congress and Senate should have been there and expressed their concerns, bringing the hostage out home, dealing with the issue of what's going on in Gaza, because there are thousands of people that are dying. And so this needs to end. This war needs to end. I think the protests that took place, people have their right to protest, but to be destructive in what they did, to me, it was an issue, and that should not have happened. Destroying, burning up flags, all of that. I mean, that's why it's going to be very interesting. And I think Vice President Harris, young people are looking at what her position is going to be on this. And she's kind of skirted it up to this point, but she's not going to be able to in the future. And, for me, it's like nobody, I know when you're at war that there's so many casualties, but please, innocent people, I just, I don't care for war. I don't like war. I would never go in the military. I would never encourage anybody to go in the military, but people have to do this. But I just think that they should have been vocal. They should have shared what their concerns are with them, because they are the ones who have to pass the budget to give Israel the money, and not protested, but been there and been vocal.
You know that Hamas.
Rick, we have to wrap. I would say that Harris did strike a tough tone, saying that we cannot allow ourselves to be numb to the suffering of 40,000 innocents who were killed over there in Gaza. And
40,000 is a Hamas statistic. I think it's completely exaggerated.
She wasn't in the chamber, and she wasn't on the tarmac. Okay,
I think it's more or less.
Well, she wasn't on the tarmac. She wasn't in the chamber on a joint session, which is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it is.
Jimmy, you needed a little more energy today. I'm disappointed. Rick, thank you. Tonya, Bana, the best. And Sheila, it's great to see you again. And this was a very lively, animated, very interesting and controversial discussion. And we want to thank all of you who are watching us on squareoff.net. And we will see you next time right here at squareoff.net. Well, once again, we square off. What a great, great show. Thank you all. Goodbye. Bye-bye.